The sun over Okife City burned gently, washing the streets in a golden hue that made the air shimmer with warmth and life. It was one of those afternoons when the marketplace seemed to breathe full of laughter, bargaining voices, clattering pans, and the rhythmic beat of a talking drum echoing from a distant stall. The city wasn't as large as Lagos or Ibadan, yet it carried the heart of both a vibrant mix of tradition and ambition. Through the bustling crowd walked Chief Adewale, her long, graceful stride catching the eye of every passerby. The daughter of Chief Adewale, one of the most influential men in Okife, she was known for her charm, elegance, and generosity. Her flowing Ankara dress gleamed with colors of gold and blue, tailored perfectly to fit her slender frame. Her designer sandals clicked softly against the paved road as she moved from stall to stall, occasionally greeting familiar traders who bowed slightly in respect. "Tina, my daughter, you are glowing today," an elderly woman selling roasted corn exclaimed. Tina smiled warmly, her eyes sparkling. "Mama Funk, you always flatter me. How is business today?" "Business is as slow as the sun's mercy," the old woman chuckled, fanning the smoke from her roasting pan. "But seeing you is blessing enough." Tina laughed lightly, slipping a few naira notes into the woman's hand. "Take this for your grandchildren," she said, waving away the old woman's protests before walking on. She didn't flaunt her wealth, but her presence alone spoke of privilege, her soft hands, her polished accent, her calm confidence. But beneath that polished grace was a restless heart. For all her father's influence, all her mother's care, and all the luxury that surrounded her, Tina felt caged by expectations. Her father wanted her to marry the son of a political ally. Her mother wanted her to focus on running the family's charity foundation. Everyone around her seemed to have a plan for her except her. That afternoon, as she crossed the street near the newly opened supermarket, her gaze fell upon someone she had never noticed before. He stood tall beside the supermarket gate, dressed in a faded navy uniform, his cap tilted slightly to one side. His skin was dark and sun-kissed, his hands rough, his eyes kind. He didn't shout like the bus drivers, or jest like the traders. He stood quietly, observant, with a calmness that seemed almost foreign amid the chaos of the city. Rafael. That was the name sewn neatly onto his uniform tag. Something about him caught her attention. Perhaps it was the way he smiled faintly at children passing by, or how he nodded politely to customers entering and leaving. She slowed her pace, pretending to check her phone, and glanced at him again. He noticed. Their eyes met for a brief, electric second. Rafael straightened up, adjusting his belt awkwardly, and offered a respectful nod. Tina, embarrassed yet intrigued, returned the gesture before walking away, her heart unexpectedly light. For the rest of that day, his face lingered in her mind. The next day, she found herself wandering through the same street again. She told herself she only wanted to buy plantains, but her steps betrayed her. They led her straight toward the supermarket gate. And there he was again, just as quiet, just as observant. This time, when their eyes met, she didn't look away. "Good afternoon," she greeted softly. Rafael looked slightly startled, as though unaccustomed to such warmth from a well-dressed lady. "Good afternoon, Ma," he replied, his voice low but steady. "You don't have to call me Ma," she said, smiling. "I'm Tina." He hesitated before replying, "Rafael." "Tough job?" she asked, glancing at the security post. He chuckled lightly. "Not really. Standing and watching is easy. It's thinking that's hard." She laughed genuinely. Something about his honesty disarmed her. Most men she met tried to impress her with charm or expensive talk. Rafael's humility was different. It fell. Real. As the days turned into weeks, Tina's visits to the supermarket became frequent. Sometimes she bought groceries she didn't need. Sometimes she just strolled by. Each time, their conversations grew a little longer about the city, the people, dreams, and life itself. She learned that Rafael had come from another town, searching for better opportunities. He spoke of a humble life, of struggles, of helping his mother build a small home back in the village. His stories painted a picture of hardship, but his tone was never bitter, only hopeful. What Tina didn't know was that Rafael was living a lie. He wasn't a struggling security guard. He was, in truth, a skilled artisan, the only son of Chief Adewale, a wealthy craftsman and one of Chief Adewale's longtime business rivals. Disguised in poverty, he had chosen this new identity to escape his family's control and to understand what life was like beyond privilege. When his eyes met Tina's for the first time, he hadn't known who she was. But when he later recognized her as the daughter of Chief Adewale, his heart trembled. The irony of fate amused him and frightened him. Still, he couldn't stay away. He admired her simplicity despite her wealth, her laughter, her curiosity about the world beyond her circle. Each day, he fought a quiet war within himself between the truth and the growing affection he felt for her. One Saturday evening, the city came alive with drumming and fireworks. It was the annual Okife Cultural Festival, a celebration of unity and heritage. Streets were lined with decorations, the air filled with the smell of jollof rice and fried meat. Tina attended in a graceful white gown, her hair tied in elegant braids. She moved among her friends, laughing and taking pictures. Yet, amid the music and dancing, her eyes wandered searching. And then she saw him. Rafael stood near the stage, dressed in simple but clean clothes, the moonlight catching the edges of his jaw. She walked toward him without hesitation. "You made it," she said softly. "I couldn't miss the festival," he replied, his eyes lighting up. They talked as the drums echoed around them, the world fading for a while. He told her stories about village festivals, and she spoke of her childhood memories of dancing under the moonlight. Somewhere in their laughter, their hands brushed and neither pulled away. At that moment, under the glow of the street lights and the music of the drums, something began. Neither of them knew where it would lead, but both knew it was real, a spark that neither wealth nor status could extinguish. And as the night deepened, the gentle breeze carried a promise, one that would soon be tested by truth, pride, and love's unrelenting power. Morning sunlight spilled across the skyline of Okife, painting its red roofs and narrow streets in shades of amber. The city was waking up, the honk of motorcycles, the chatter of women heading to market, and the smell of freshly baked bread drifting through open windows. Inside Chief Adewale's mansion, Tina sat by her bedroom window, a cup of tea in hand. Her phone buzzed beside her, but she wasn't looking at it. Her thoughts were elsewhere, lost in the memory of the festival night. She had replayed that evening in her mind countless times. The music, the laughter, Rafael's warm gaze, the subtle brush of his fingers against hers. It wasn't just attraction anymore. It was something deeper, something that stirred her soul. She smiled unconsciously, tracing invisible circles on the rim of her cup. "Tina," her mother's voice echoed from downstairs. "Yes, Mama," she called back, quickly straightening her hair before descending the staircase. In the dining room, her mother, Madame Adewale, was arranging flowers while Chief Adewale sat at the head of the table, reading the morning newspaper. The aroma of fried eggs and buttered bread filled the air. "Good morning, Daddy." "Good morning, Mama," Tina greeted, planting a soft kiss on her father's cheek. "Morning, my jewel," he said with a smile. "How was the festival?" "It was beautiful," she replied, taking her seat. "The drummers were amazing this year." Chief Adewale chuckled. "As long as you didn't go near that crowd of street dancers. Those people have no discipline." Her mother laughed lightly, but Tina's smile faded slightly. Her father's tone, though affectionate, carried a sharp edge, that unspoken line between us and them. It reminded her just how different her world was from Rafael's. After breakfast, she retreated to the garden. The flowers swayed gently, and she let the rhythm of the breeze calm her heart. She wanted to see him again, needed to. By noon, she was already walking down the familiar street toward the supermarket. Rafael was there, of course, his uniform pressed, his eyes alert. When he saw her, his expression softened instantly. "You're here early," he said, a small smile playing on his lips. "I couldn't stay away," she admitted. For a moment he was silent, then said quietly, "I'm glad you didn't." They talked, as they always did, about life, work, and the strange simplicity of happiness. Rafael spoke little of himself, choosing instead to ask about her studies, her dreams, what she truly wanted in life. "No one's ever asked me that before," Tina said softly. "Everyone assumes I just want what my parents want." "And what do you want?" he asked. She looked at him, her eyes searching his. "Peace. Freedom. To love without permission." He swallowed hard, feeling the weight of her words. If only she knew how close he was to breaking that trust with the secret he carried. That night, Rafael lay on the thin mattress in his small rented room. The fan creaked above him as he stared at the ceiling. On the table beside his bed sat a photo of his parents, Chief Adewale and Madame Bimp, both dressed in traditional attire, standing proudly beside the massive bronze gate of their estate. He turned the photo face down. He had left that world behind to breathe, to feel life without the suffocating expectations of wealth and rivalry. Yet, life had a cruel sense of humor. It had led him straight to the daughter of his father's oldest rival. When he first realized who Tina was, he'd thought of staying away. But something about her drew him in her warmth, her laughter, the honesty in her eyes. He hadn't planned for any of this. He sat up, running a hand over his face. How long can I keep this lie? He wanted to tell her the truth, to let her know that he wasn't the man she thought he was. But he feared that truth would shatter the fragile bond they had built. The next few weeks passed like a dream. Tina and Rafael saw each other almost every day. Sometimes it was just a brief chat outside the supermarket. Other times, they met at the park near the city center, sitting under the old baobab tree that overlooked the river. Rafael would bring roasted groundnuts wrapped in newspaper, and Tina would bring soft drinks from her family's store. They'd talk for hours, laughing, teasing, sharing stories. One afternoon, as they watched the sun dip behind the horizon, Tina turned to him and said, "You're different from anyone I've ever met." "How so?" he asked, his lips curving into a smile. "You see people," she replied simply. "Not their clothes, not their names, just people. It's rare." Rafael smiled faintly, but guilt twisted in his chest. "If only you knew." Then she did something unexpected. She reached out and took his hand. "Rafael," she said softly, "I want you to know something. I don't care where you're from or what you have. I like who you are." He froze. Her words struck deeper than she knew. "Tina," he whispered, his voice trembling slightly, "what if I'm not who you think I am?" She frowned. "What do you mean?" He hesitated, then forced a small smile. "I mean, I'm not perfect. I have things in my past I'm not proud of." She squeezed his hand gently. "Everyone does. But the past doesn't define who you are now." Her faith in him silenced his confession before it escaped. He smiled, masking the turmoil inside. Meanwhile, back at the Adewale mansion, whispers had begun to stir. The family's driver, who often saw Tina at the supermarket, had mentioned her frequent visits to Madame Adewale. "Madam, e be like say our small Madame Donde see one man for that big supermarket side," he said one morning. Her mother brushed it off at first, but when Tina began returning home late, concern turned to suspicion. "Tina," her mother said one evening, "you've been spending a lot of time outside lately. Is there someone you're seeing?" Tina hesitated, her spoon hovering over her plate. "Just a friend, Mama." Her mother's brow furrowed. "A friend? From where?" "From around the supermarket," Tina replied softly. Madame Adewale exchanged a glance with her husband, but said nothing more. Still, the tension in the room was thick. After dinner, Tina retreated to her room, clutching her phone tightly. She messaged Rafael. "Tina, I think my parents are starting to suspect something." "Rafael, don't worry. We'll be careful." "Tina, I don't care if they find out." "Rafael, you should. Your father won't approve." "Tina, he'll understand someday. He has to." Rafael sighed as he read her words. If only she knew the real reason her father would never approve. A week later, as they sat again beneath the baobab tree, Rafael finally decided. He couldn't keep lying. "Tina," he began, his tone serious. "There's something I need to tell you." Just then, her phone rang. It was her father. She sighed, silencing it. "He'll be fine. Tell me later." But the moment passed. Rafael looked away, his heart sinking. He couldn't tell her not yet. Instead, he smiled faintly and said, "One day, I'll tell you everything." "I'll be waiting," she replied, her eyes glowing with trust. That night, as thunder rolled over the city, Rafael stared out his window, watching the rain pour down. He knew he couldn't delay forever. The truth had a way of surfacing, and when it did, it would test everything they had built. Across town, Tina lay awake, her heart racing with thoughts of him. Neither of them knew that destiny was already in motion, that love, though strong, was about to face the storm of truth. Hello guys, thank you for watching this video till now. Please share your thoughts about Tina's affection towards Rafael. We will be waiting to hear from you in the comments. Please take the time to click on the subscribe button to see more of our stories. Thank you. Let's continue with our story. The days that followed carried a strange stillness, the kind that comes just before a storm. Rafael could feel it in the air. Each time he stood at the supermarket gate, he sensed unseen eyes watching. The easy rhythm of his days with Tina had shifted. She still came by, radiant as always, but there was an unspoken weight in their conversations, a quiet tension neither dared to name. He had almost told her the truth twice, but fear kept sealing his lips. Every time he looked into her eyes, full of sincerity and love, he saw the image of her father's face, stern, powerful, and unforgiving. Chief Adewale was not a man known for tolerance or mercy. And Rafael's secret, if revealed, would ignite not just heartbreak but war between two proud families. That afternoon, the sun beat hard upon the streets of Okife. The smell of roasted yam and pepper sauce drifted through the marketplace as traders called out to customers. Tina, dressed simply in a floral gown and a scarf, made her way through the crowd with a basket of groceries. She spotted Rafael standing near the supermarket, talking to another guard. When he noticed her, his expression softened immediately. "Tina," he greeted with a smile, his tone gentle. "Hey you," she teased lightly. "You look like you haven't eaten all day." He laughed. "I was waiting for you to bring something." She handed him a paper bag with snacks inside. "Plantain chips. You like them too much." "Guilty," he said, opening the bag. "But they're sweeter when you bring them." Their laughter drew curious glances from passers-by, but neither cared. Theirs was a world within a world, one where social barriers momentarily disappeared. "Let's take a walk after your shift," Tina suggested softly. Rafael hesitated. "Are you sure? Someone might see us." "I don't care anymore," she said, her tone resolute. "Let them see." He sighed, knowing the risk but unable to resist her conviction. As evening fell, they walked together along the narrow road that led toward the city's outskirts. The air was cooler, filled with the scent of wet earth after a brief drizzle. They walked side by side, occasionally brushing shoulders. "You ever wonder what people would say if they saw us like this?" Rafael asked. Tina smiled. "They'd say what people always say too much." "And your father?" Her smile faded slightly. "He'd be furious. But I'd rather live with his anger than without my happiness." Rafael looked away, conflicted. He admired her courage, yet it frightened him. He had lived under privilege too long not to understand how deep family pride could cut. He stopped walking and turned to her. "Tina, there's something I should tell you." Her eyes met his, curious. "What is it?" But before he could speak, a black SUV drove past them slowly, its tinted windows rolling down just enough for someone to see. Rafael's heart clenched. He recognized that car. Chief Adewale's driver. The vehicle moved on, but the damage was done. Later that night, in the Adewale mansion, tension crackled like dry firewood. Chief Adewale sat in his study, a stern expression on his face. The driver stood before him, cap in hand. "So you're saying you saw my daughter walking with a security guard?" the chief asked slowly. "Yes, sir," the driver replied nervously. "They were together near the old road." "Look close." Chief Adewale's eyes hardened. "Close, you say?" "Yes, sir." The chief leaned back in his chair, his fingers tapping the armrest. "Thank you. You may go." As the driver exited, Madame Adewale entered quietly. "You heard?" he asked her. She nodded. "I did. Maybe it's just a friendship." He scoffed. "Friendship? Between my daughter and a watchman? Never." She sighed softly. "You can't control who she talks to forever." "I can control who she marries," he snapped. "And this ends now." The next morning, Tina woke to find her father waiting in the living room. His face was calm, but his eyes carried the weight of confrontation. "Tina, sit down," he said. She obeyed quietly, already sensing what was coming. "I hear you've been spending time with a man," he began. "A security guard." Her heart pounded. "Who told you that?" "It doesn't matter who." "Is it true?" She hesitated. "Yes, father. But he's not what you think." Chief Adewale's brows shot up. "He's exactly what I think, a man far beneath your status. Have you lost your senses?" "Father, he's kind, honest, and hard-working," she defended. "He treats me with respect, not like some prize to be won." Her father slammed his hand on the table. "Respect doesn't change blood, Tina. You are the daughter of Chief Adewale. You cannot disgrace this family with such foolishness." Tears welled in her eyes, but she stood firm. "If love is foolishness, then I'll be a fool." He rose sharply, towering over her. "You will stay away from him, or you will cease to be my daughter." Her mother gasped softly, but Chief Adewale's voice was final. He stormed out, leaving the echo of his anger behind. That afternoon, Tina went to the supermarket anyway. Her heart pounded as she approached, knowing her father's words still burned in her ears. When Rafael saw her, he knew something was wrong. "What happened?" he asked. She told him everything, the confrontation, the threats, the ultimatum. Her voice trembled, but her resolve didn't. Rafael listened in silence, guilt tearing at his insides. His disguise had started this storm, and now the girl he loved was suffering for it. "This is my fault," he said quietly. "Maybe your father's right. Maybe we shouldn't." "Don't you dare," she interrupted fiercely. "Don't you dare say we shouldn't be together." He looked into her eyes, those fierce, loyal eyes, and all the walls inside him began to crumble. "I love you," she whispered, tears falling freely now. "And I don't care what anyone thinks." He reached for her hand, gripping it tightly. "Tina." But before he could respond fully, the supermarket manager called him from a distance. "Rafael, Chief Adewale wants to see you in his office tomorrow morning." The words froze them both. Tina's heart stopped. "My father wants to see you?" "Yes," Rafael murmured, dread filling his voice. "He knows." That night, Rafael couldn't sleep. He sat by his small window, staring into the darkness. He knew what tomorrow would bring. Chief Adewale would dig. He would find the truth. And when he did, everything, every lie, every moment, every fragile hope would shatter. He pulled out the photo of his parents again, his hands trembling. "What have I done?" he whispered to himself. In another part of the city, Tina cried silently into her pillow. She wasn't afraid of her father's anger. She was afraid of losing Rafael. Something in her heart told her that tomorrow would change everything. Morning came too quickly. The city buzzed with life, but Rafael's heart felt heavy as he made his way to Chief Adewale's mansion. He was greeted coldly by the guards and led into the grand office. Chief Adewale sat behind a mahogany desk, his face stern, his gaze sharp as a blade. "So," the chief began slowly, "you are the man distracting my daughter." Rafael stood straight, his voice calm but firm. "With respect, sir, I care about your daughter. I never meant to disrespect you." "Care?" the chief repeated, sneering. "You think love erases class? You think your kind belongs here?" Rafael's jaw tightened. "With all due respect, sir, I'm not defined by my uniform." Chief Adewale leaned forward. "Then tell me, who are you?" For the first time, Rafael hesitated. The question echoed louder than thunder. Who was he, the poor guard he pretended to be, or the wealthy heir he ran from? He opened his mouth to speak, but before he could answer, the chief's phone rang. He picked it up, listening briefly, then froze. His eyes widened in shock. He slowly turned toward Rafael. Your real name is Rafael Eleni?" The room fell silent. Rafael's heart sank. The secret was out. Chief Adewale's face darkened, a mix of rage and disbelief. "You're the son of that man, my rival? You deceived my daughter under false pretenses." Rafael tried to explain, but the chief cut him off. "Get out of my sight. And if you ever come near my family again, I will destroy you." Rafael left the mansion silently, the weight of truth crushing him. Outside, he stood beneath the blazing sun, his heart breaking. He had tried to escape his world, but it had found him anyway. Back inside, Tina burst into tears when she heard the news. Her mother held her close, but her father's words were cold and final. "That man lied to you. Whatever love you thought you had was built on deceit." But even as her heart shattered, Tina whispered through her tears, "Love built on truth can break, but love built on forgiveness can heal." The sun over Okife rose slowly that morning, heavy with heat and sorrow. The market, usually lively with cheerful chaos, felt strangely muted. Word had already begun to spread, whispers of confrontation at Chief Adewale's mansion, of a poor security guard, who turned out to be the son of the chief's greatest rival. In every corner of the city, tongues wagged, and stories twisted with every retelling. But only two people knew the full truth, Tina and Rafael, and both were drowning in its weight. Tina sat by her window, eyes swollen from crying through the night. The once sparkling view of Okife that usually filled her with pride now looked like a cage of gossip and judgment. Her mother had tried to comfort her, but her father's anger had left the entire household in silence. "Forget him, Tina," Madame Adewale had whispered. "You can't fight the kind of battle your father is prepared for." But Tina couldn't forget. No matter how hard she tried, every memory of Rafael, his laughter, his honesty, his quiet eyes kept replaying in her mind. He had lied to her, yes. But she remembered the way he had spoken, not to impress her, but to understand her. That kind of sincerity couldn't be fake. Or could it? She had to know for sure. By mid-afternoon, she wrapped a scarf around her head and slipped out of the mansion unnoticed. Her heart pounded as she boarded a tricycle that rattled through the dusty streets toward the old part of town. Rafael sat outside his small rented room, staring blankly at the sky. He hadn't eaten, hadn't slept. The truth had spilled out faster than he could control, and now it felt like everything he'd built with Tina had turned to dust. He had thought revealing who he truly was might free him. Instead, it had trapped him between two worlds, again the rich life he'd rejected and the love he might have just destroyed. A familiar voice broke through his thoughts. Rafael. He turned sharply. Tina stood there, breathing heavily from the walk, her scarf slightly loosened. For a long moment, neither spoke. The air between them was thick with pain and longing. "You shouldn't be here," he said softly. "I had to come," she replied, her voice trembling. "I needed to see you. To hear it from you, the truth." He looked away. "Your father already told you everything. I want to hear it from you." He sighed deeply, then gestured toward the wooden bench beside him. "Sit." She obeyed, clutching her hands tightly in her lap. After a long silence, Rafael began. "My real name is Rafael Olenii. My father, Chief Olenii, owns one of the biggest artisan companies in this city. He and your father have been rivals for over 20 years, both competing for government contracts, influence, everything. I grew up surrounded by luxury, but I hated it. Every decision, every friendship, every smile was controlled by family pride. So one day I walked away." He paused, his eyes distant. "I wanted to live simply, to see the world without titles or expectations. I took this job to understand life outside privilege, and maybe to find who I really was." Tina's voice was small. "So when you met me, you already knew who I was?" He nodded slowly. "Not at first. But when I found out, I should have stayed away. I didn't. I couldn't." Her lips trembled. "You lied to me, Rafael. Every time I asked about your past, you gave me stories that weren't true." "I didn't lie to hurt you," he said quickly. "I lied because I was afraid that if you knew who I really was, you'd see me like everyone else does. I didn't want your love to be built on my name." Tina looked at him, tears brimming in her eyes. "But now, I don't even know what it was built on." The words pierced him. He lowered his head, guilt washing over him. "You're right. I should have told you the truth sooner. I broke your trust, and for that, I'll never forgive myself." She rose to her feet, pacing slowly. "You made me believe in something pure, something that could exist outside wealth, power, and class. And now I find out it was all an illusion." Rafael stood too. "No, Tina. The love was never an illusion. Everything I said, every moment we shared, it was real. The disguise doesn't change that." She turned toward him, her voice breaking. "It changes everything. Don't you see? My father will never forgive this. He thinks you played me, that you came close to mock him." "I didn't," Rafael whispered. "I swear I didn't." The silence that followed was unbearable. Outside, a child's laughter echoed faintly, distant and cruel against the quiet ache of their hearts. Finally, Tina spoke, her voice soft but steady. "So what happens now?" He shook his head. "I don't know. Your father will never let us be together. Mine probably won't either." She smiled sadly. "So that's it? After everything?" He stepped closer, his eyes pleading. "No. I love you, Tina. I don't care about family wars or names. If I have to start over somewhere else, I will. With you." Tina's breath hitched. "Do you really think we can run from this? My father has eyes everywhere. The city itself would talk us into exile." "Then let them talk," he said, taking her hand. "All I need is you." For a moment, the world fell away. Their fingers intertwined, their hearts beat in sync. But reality loomed close, louder than love, heavier than hope. She withdrew her hand slowly. "I can't, not yet. My mother's health is fragile, and my father's rage is fire. If I leave now, it'll destroy them both." Rafael nodded, his jaw tightening. "I understand." "Do you?" she whispered. "Because every part of me wants to stay here with you. But love can't survive in hiding forever. It deserves light truth." He looked into her tear-filled eyes. "Then I'll wait, no matter how long it takes." Tina smiled weakly, brushing a tear away. "You shouldn't have to wait for someone whose world keeps you prisoner." "I'm already free," he said softly. "Because I met you." Her tears fell freely then, and she turned away, afraid he'd see her break completely. "I have to go," she murmured. Rafael didn't stop her. He simply watched her walk away, the woman who had taught him more about courage than any battle his family had fought. When she disappeared down the street, he sat back on the bench, his chest tight. The quiet of the evening pressed in around him, thick with regret. Meanwhile, back at the Adewale mansion, storm clouds brewed again. Chief Adewale paced the living room, his voice echoing. "I warned her to stay away. Does she think love will fix generations of rivalry? The Olenius are snakes, manipulative, deceitful." Madame Adewale sighed. "He's just a boy, Adewale. Maybe this is fate's way of ending the feud." Her husband glared at her. "Fate? Don't be naive. Their relationship is an embarrassment to this family. I will not let my daughter bring shame to our name. She's in love, his wife said quietly. You can't order her heart the way you order your business deals. Watch me, he replied coldly. Days turned to weeks. Rafael was dismissed from his security job quietly, without notice. Word had reached the supermarket management that Chief Adewale had made a call. Tina, confined at home, was closely monitored. Her phone was taken away, her movements restricted. It was as if she'd been imprisoned within her own life. But love finds its own paths. Every Thursday, at exactly 7 in the evening, Tina would step onto the balcony, looking out at the horizon. Across the city, in his small apartment, Rafael would do the same. They couldn't see each other, but they both looked at the same sky, a silent promise that distance could not erase. One night, as thunder rumbled and rain began to pour, Tina whispered into the storm, "Hold on for me, Rafael. I'll find a way." And somewhere across the city, Rafael whispered back into the rain, "I'm not letting go." But fate was already turning its pages. Chief Adewale had begun making calls, powerful ones. His influence stretched beyond the city, and his hatred for the Olenii family burned hotter than ever. And in the Olenii household, whispers had reached Rafael's father too. "Your son has disgraced this family," Chief Olenii thundered to his wife. "He mingles with the daughter of that man who stole half our contracts." "He's in love," Madame Bimp said softly. "Maybe he just wants peace." "Peace?" Chief Olenii scoffed. "There's no peace between lions and leopards. If he values her more than his blood, then he's no son of mine." The room fell into heavy silence. Two proud men, blinded by ego, now stood between love's fragile heartbeat. And between them, Tina and Rafael, bound by truth, tested by distance, and haunted by the question neither could yet answer. Is love enough when the world itself stands in your way? The morning sun rose timidly over Okife, but there was no peace in the Adewale household. The air was tense, heavy with silence and unspoken words. Chief Adewale sat at the dining table, sipping black coffee with a frown that deepened every passing second. His wife, Madame Adewale, moved quietly, avoiding his gaze. The sound of spoons and cups clinking felt like the echo of a family on the verge of war. Tina entered the room slowly, dressed in a simple white gown. Her face was calm, but her eyes betrayed sleepless nights and restless thoughts. "Good morning, father," she greeted softly. He didn't respond immediately. He lowered his cup, adjusted his glasses, and looked at her with the coldness of a man who'd already made up his mind. "You disobeyed me, Tina." "I didn't run away," she said. "I just went to speak with him." "That's worse," he snapped. "You defied my authority and chose to fraternize with the son of the very man who tried to destroy me." Her mother stepped in gently. "Adewale, please." "Not now," he interrupted, raising a hand. His voice was low but sharp. "Tina, I built this family with blood, sweat, and sacrifice. And I will not let my only daughter throw everything away for the sake of childish romance." Tina's chest tightened. "This isn't childish, father. It's love." He scoffed. "Love? Love doesn't feed a family or protect a legacy. You think the world will look kindly on the daughter of Chief Adewale running around with the son of my rival? You're naive." Tina stood tall, her voice trembling but firm. "Maybe the world doesn't need to understand. Maybe love isn't about power or pride." He slammed his palm on the table, making her flinch. "Enough. You will not see that boy again. I've already made arrangements. You're leaving for Abuja tomorrow. Your aunt will host you for a while." Tina's eyes widened in disbelief. "You're sending me away?" Her mother looked down, unable to meet her gaze. "It's for your own good, my dear. For your peace of mind, maybe," Tina said bitterly. "But not for mine." Without another word, she turned and left the room, her heart pounding. Her father's voice followed her down the hallway, low and commanding. "If you step out of that gate again, Tina, don't bother coming back." Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, Rafael was facing his own storm. His father, Chief Olenii, had summoned him home for a family discussion, but Rafael knew what awaited him. The grand house he'd abandoned now stood before him like a monument of pride and control. As he entered the marble hall, his father sat on a wide armchair, wearing a rich agbada, flanked by two family elders. His mother stood nearby, her eyes full of worry. "So," Chief Olenii began, "you finally remembered where you came from." Rafael bowed slightly. "Good afternoon, father." "Spare me your greetings," the old man snapped. "You've disgraced this family. After all the education and wealth you've been given, you went to play a common guard in the streets? And now you're consorting with that Adewale girl. Her name is Tina, Rafael said quietly. Her name, Chief Adewale mimicked with a sneer. The daughter of the man who undercut my contracts, who humiliated this family in public. You think that is the woman you'll marry? Rafael took a deep breath. I didn't plan to fall in love with her. But it happened, father. And I won't apologize for it. You will, his father barked. Or you'll stop being my son. The room fell silent. The weight of those words hung like a curse. Rafael's mother stepped forward, tears welling in her eyes. Adewale, please. He's your son. Don't cast him away because of... Enough bimp, the old man roared. He's already made his choice. Rafael clenched his fists, but his voice was calm. You taught me to value truth, to follow what I believe in. Well, this is it. I believe in her. I believe in what we have. Chief Adewale stood slowly, his eyes blazing. Then leave. Leave this house and take your foolish beliefs with you. Rafael's mother reached for him, but he stepped back. His chest burned with pain, but he held his father's gaze. I already left once, father. I guess nothing's changed. And with that, he turned and walked away again. That night, as rain lashed against the windows, Rafael stood outside the old marketplace where he and Tina had first met. The stalls were empty, the air thick with the smell of wet dust. He remembered her laughter, her curious eyes, her kindness when everyone else looked down on him. His phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. Meet me at the old bus station. Midnight. He knew that handwriting anywhere it was Tina. When the clock struck 12, Rafael stood at the dimly lit station, drenched in the lingering drizzle. The sound of frogs croaking mixed with the distant hum of the city's nightlife. Moments later, Tina appeared, wrapped in a shawl, her eyes glistening under the flickering streetlight. They ran into each other's arms without a word, holding on as if the world would disappear if they let go. I had to see you, she whispered. They're sending me away tomorrow. Rafael pulled back slightly, searching her face. What? No. You can't let them control your life like this. They already are, she said, her voice cracking. I'm trapped, Rafael. My father's influence stretches everywhere. He'll make sure I never find you again. Then come with me, Rafael said impulsively. Right now. We'll leave the city. Start fresh somewhere no one knows our names. Her breath caught. The thought was tempting freedom, love, a life of their own. But fear clawed at her heart. Rafael, running away will only make things worse. They'll come after us. They'll destroy you. He cupped her face gently. They've already destroyed everything else. What's left but us? Tina's tears fell freely. I love you, she whispered. But if we go, we can't come back. Ever. He nodded. Then let's make this choice together. For a moment, they stood in silence, the sound of the rain softening around them, the air heavy with the gravity of love's decision. Then, from the darkness, the screech of tires pierced the quiet. A black SUV pulled up near the station. The door flew open. Chief Adewale's personal driver stepped out, followed by two men in black coats. Tina, one of them shouted. Your father said come home now. Rafael stepped in front of her, his jaw tight. You're not taking her anywhere. Move. One of the men growled, reaching for Tina's arm. Don't touch her. Rafael yelled, shoving the man back. Chaos erupted. One of the guards lunged forward and Rafael swung instinctively, his fist connecting with the man's jaw. The second guard grabbed him from behind, but Tina screamed. Stop. Please stop. In the confusion, Chief Adewale himself stepped out of the car, his umbrella barely shielding him from the rain. His eyes burned with rage and betrayal. Tina, he said coldly, get in the car. She shook her head. Father, please. Now, he thundered. Rafael held her hand tightly. Don't go. Her heart raced. Between her father's fury and Rafael's desperate eyes, she felt her soul split in two. Tina, Chief Adewale said, his voice quieter but more dangerous. If you stay with him, you're no longer my daughter. The world seemed to stop. The rain fell harder, drumming on the metal roofs and pavement like war drums. Rafael whispered, You don't have to choose like this. But Tina knew she did. Her lips quivered as she looked between them. Father Rafael, I love you both. But this fight is killing me. She stepped forward and kissed Rafael's forehead. Please forgive me. Then she turned, walked slowly toward the car, and disappeared inside. Rafael stood there in the rain, motionless, watching the SUV drive away. The love that had defied class, lies, and pride had now been torn apart by the oldest enemy of all blood. Later that night, Chief Adewale's convoy sped toward the mansion, but his daughter sat quietly in the back seat, tears streaming down her cheeks. Her heart ached with a strange certainty that this wasn't the end. Because love like theirs doesn't die in one night. It waits. And in another part of the city, soaked and broken but unyielding, Rafael whispered into the darkness. This isn't over. I'll find her again, even if it takes forever. The morning after the storm was eerily quiet in Okife. The air smelled of wet dust and broken promises. Inside Chief Adewale's mansion, silence ruled like a shadow. The house that once buzzed with servants and laughter now carried the cold stillness of regret. Tina sat by her window, staring blankly into the distance. Her eyes were swollen from crying, her heart a battlefield of love and duty. For days, she hadn't spoken to anyone, not even her mother. She refused food, refused to smile, refused to live in a world where her heart was chained by her father's pride. Her phone lay on her table, confiscated and returned only after she promised to behave. Yet every time it buzzed, she ignored it, hoping it would be him. But Rafael had vanished. No calls, no messages, no trace. The last image burned in her mind, him standing in the rain, defiant and heartbroken, as her father's car drove her away. That memory played over and over like a cruel song she couldn't stop. Meanwhile, across town, Rafael was a man adrift. He had packed his few belongings and moved to the outskirts of the city, far from the noise, far from the past. But no distance could silence Tina's voice in his heart. He found work as an artisan again, this time under his real name. His skill with wood carving drew admiration from everyone, yet his eyes remained distant, haunted. Every stroke of his chisel was a whisper of her name. Rafael, his friend Kunnel said one afternoon, wiping sweat from his brow, "You're wasting away. If you love this girl so much, go get her." Rafael smiled faintly. "It's not that simple." Kunnel frowned. "You always say that. But love isn't supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be real." Rafael stared at the wood in his hands. "It's real. That's why it hurts." He had written her countless letters, but never sent them. Words of apology, longing, and promise. Instead, he tucked them away in a small wooden box he carved himself, his box of truth, he called it. Back at the mansion, a new development was stirring. Chief Adewale had invited a prominent businessman and his wife for dinner, Mr. and Mrs. Bello and their son, Yomi Bello, who had just returned from the UK. Yomi was charming, well-spoken, and from a family of equal wealth. The kind of man Chief Adewale believed was right for his daughter. Tina sat stiffly at the dining table, her mind far away as Yomi spoke animatedly about his work in London. "So, Miss Tina," Yomi said, flashing a polite smile, "your father tells me you're very passionate about community work." She forced a smile. "I am. I believe people deserve chances, no matter where they come from." Chief Adewale gave her a warning glance, but she ignored it. After dinner, Yomi walked her to the garden. The night was cool, the stars faint behind the clouds. "You seem sad," Yomi said gently. "I hope it's not because of me." Tina shook her head. "It's not. I just have a lot on my mind." He hesitated. "I know about him, Rafael." Her heart froze. "You do?" He nodded. "Your father mentioned it. But he's only trying to protect you. Sometimes we let emotions blind us from reason." Tina met his eyes, her voice soft but sharp. "Sometimes it's reason that blinds us from love." He smiled, a little taken aback. "You really love him, don't you?" She looked away. "More than I've ever loved anyone." Yomi sighed. "Then fight for it. If he's worth it, don't let anyone, not even your father, decide for you." She turned to him, surprised. "Why would you say that?" "Because I once loved someone my parents didn't approve of," he said quietly. "I walked away, and I've regretted it every day since." His words pierced her heart. She thanked him softly, then excused herself. That night, she lay awake, staring at the ceiling, a storm of courage building inside her chest. 2 days later, Chief Adewale received a letter from Chief Olanyi, the man he despised most. The letter was brief, formal, and bitter. "I have no son to speak of anymore. If yours still wishes to disgrace your house, that's your burden, not mine." He crumpled it in anger, tossing it into the fire. But Madame Adewale retrieved it quietly, her eyes heavy with sorrow. "Adewale," she said softly, "you're letting this feud destroy our daughter." He glared at her. "You don't understand what's at stake." "I understand too well," she cried, her voice breaking. "You've turned love into war. She's your daughter, not your soldier. You're fighting ghosts while she's fighting to breathe." The chief froze. For the first time, her words hit him like lightning. The weight of his pride began to feel like a curse. That evening, Tina made her decision. As the household settled into sleep, she packed a small bag, just clothes and a photo of her parents from happier days. Her heart raced as she slipped out through the side gate, her eyes filled with tears but her spirit fierce. She boarded a night bus headed toward the old market area. She didn't know what she'd say if she found Rafael. She just knew she had to find him. Rafael was still awake when she arrived. He sat outside, carving wood under the glow of a kerosene lamp. When he heard footsteps, he turned and froze. "Tina." She nodded, breathless. "It's me." For a heartbeat, neither moved. Then she ran to him, and he caught her in his arms. The world melted away. "You came," he whispered, his voice trembling. "I couldn't stay there anymore," she said, tears spilling. "I can't live a life that's not mine." He held her close, his heart thundering. "I thought I lost you forever." "You almost did," she said softly. "But love doesn't die that easily." They stood there for a long time, wrapped in the warmth of each other's presence, until the first light of dawn touched the horizon. But their peace didn't last long. By morning, word had reached the Adewale mansion that Tina was gone. Chief Adewale's fury was beyond words. He ordered his men to find her, but something within him cracked a small, painful realization that maybe he'd gone too far. Madame Adewale, watching him pace, finally said, "Let her go, Adewale. Let her live." He stopped, breathing heavily. For the first time, he saw himself not as a father, but as the wall between his daughter and happiness. "Where would she even go?" he asked, almost to himself. "Where her heart feels safe," his wife replied gently. He looked out the window, his face hard but his eyes softening. "Then God help me, I hope he treats her better than I did." That afternoon, as the sun painted the sky gold, Rafael and Tina sat by the river that ran behind the small workshop. The water shimmered, and for the first time in weeks, Tina smiled a real smile. "What now?" she asked quietly. He took her hand. "Now we build our own story." They decided to leave Oak-Ife and move to Ibadan, where no one knew their names, where love didn't need permission. Rafael sold a few carvings to raise money, and within days they set off. As the bus rolled through winding roads and green hills, Tina rested her head on his shoulder, whispering, "We did it." He kissed her forehead. "No, we're doing it. This is just the beginning." Months later, life in Ibadan bloomed anew. They opened a small art and crafts shop called Hearts of Wood, a name that spoke both of Rafael's craft and their enduring love. Customers came for the art but stayed for the story, the tale of two souls who defied wealth, pride, and rivalry to be together. And in every carving Rafael made, he etched a small T, somewhere hidden a quiet signature of the woman who gave his life meaning. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Tina stood at the doorway of their shop, watching children laugh nearby. She turned to him and said softly, "Do you ever think about them, our fathers?" Rafael nodded. "Every day. But I also think that maybe one day they'll forgive us. And maybe they'll learn from us what they never learned from their own pride." She smiled, leaning into him. "You think love can change them?" He wrapped his arm around her. "It already changed us." The wind carried the scent of fresh rain, and the distant call to prayer echoed over the city. Tina looked up at the sky and whispered, This is forever." And for once, forever didn't seem too far away. In the bustling small city of Oak-Ife, Tina Adewale, the cherished daughter of a wealthy chief, lives a life of privilege and admiration. But everything changes the day she meets Rafael, a humble security guard whose quiet strength and mysterious charm awaken something deeper in her heart. What begins as innocent curiosity soon blossoms into a forbidden romance that defies status and expectation. Unbeknownst to Tina, Rafael is no ordinary man. He is the estranged son of Chief Adewale, her father's greatest rival. Disguised in poverty to escape the suffocating pride of his family, Rafael seeks simplicity but finds love instead. When the truth unfolds, their world crumbles under lies, pride, and generational hatred. Torn between love and loyalty, Tina must confront her powerful father, who will stop at nothing to separate them. Meanwhile, Rafael risks everything to prove that love can conquer legacy. Through heartbreak, defiance, and sacrifice, they both discover that true wealth is not measured by gold or name, but by the courage to choose love above all else. Tina and Rafael, The Choice of Forever, is a tender, passionate tale of love that transcends class, pride, and time itself. Hello guys, thank you for watching this video till the end. Please share your thoughts about Tina's affection towards Rafael. We will be waiting to hear from you in the comments. Please take the time to click on the subscribe button to see more of our stories. Thank you.